desde cómo se tomaron algunas decisiones creativas hasta cuáles eran sus versiones favoritas de Batman. Así fue mi cobertura de la Comic Con de Nueva York, donde hablé con prácticamente todos los protagonistas del Pingüino.
We now return to Mira Akian and Contre with our latest interview.
I remember reading moments going, oh my god, we're doing this in the show, doing this in the show. The ending to 4, when Sophia decides to kill everybody, is so. And then watching it, the way they shot it and the music, and she's having like the best time of her life walking around the mansion.
Are you nervous, Oz?
Nervous?
And I did not expect the reception, and it's been, I try to really keep my expectations so low, and to say that I've been blown away is an understatement. I've been like profoundly moved, and like I can't believe it.
They called me, a couple of executives, Sarah Aubrey and Joey Chavez, called me because we were talking about other development projects, and they asked me if I'd be interested in writing a series about the Penguin in Matt Reeves' Gotham City and starring Colin Farrell. And this is before the movie came out. Matt was still editing the movie. And so I was like, well, generally I'm interested, but I don't know what this depiction is. Like, I haven't seen the movie, and I don't know how Colin Farrell is Oz, like all the things that everyone has experienced of like, how? I don't understand. What is the magic of this prosthetic? I also was curious about. So I got to meet with Matt, and we really connected in terms of how we like to tell stories. He let me read the script. So I read the script first. And then eventually, as Matt was editing, he let me see the first 40 minutes, which involved Colin as Oz. And from there, I just hit the ground running and started to develop the show.
Who is he?
Boy, you guys are a hell of a duet here. Why'd you start harmonizing? There's only one problem with your little scenario, okay? I ain't no rat!
I mean, for the Batman world, I've been intrigued ever since I was a young kid, seeing the evolution of those films. But when Christopher Nolan got a hold of them, that's when I really became like hyper engaged. I was just like, holy shit, this guy's making a very real. Is real. I say real. He is Batman, and he lives in a cave in Manhattan. As real as it's gonna be. You know what I mean? But he made it very real and very like grounded in reality. And I think that's what I found so appealing about this take on the Penguin. Just fucking sure he's this, wild character with this limp and this accent and this look that is. You turned one of Hollywood's best-looking, best actors into that is mind-blowing. And those guys deserve all the Emmys in the world.
My favorite, I struggle between The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. The performances in those movies are incredible to me, and I really love The Dark Knight Rises. I know that everyone picks Dark Knight for like easily over Dark Knight Rises, but for some reason Dark Knight Rises like sticks with me, and it's great and it's awesome, and the way it ends. I mean, they just ended on such a beautiful note with the nod to Alfred, and they just ended there, and that to me like is the coolest thing on the planet.
I have a real deep affinity for Batman Returns because that was one of the first things I ever saw in theaters, and I was 7 when that movie came out. I don't know if I should have seen that movie at 7, but I went with my dad. I was so that movie, just in the ways that when you're that age and you see it, it's in your cells. I've seen it so many times. I can quote it so many times. So that one has extra special meaning. I was Catwoman for Halloween. I was obsessed with Michelle Pfeiffer. I also loved Batman Forever, because that was another one I saw in theaters multiple times, which I haven't revisited that one in a while. And I of course love the Christopher Nolan ones, and I love what Matt Reeves did. I mean, I thought Robert Pattinson is an extraordinary Batman. But probably if you're talking Batman Returns is just deep in my brain history.
I know Oz better than I know Colin, to be honest. I spent more time around Oz and Colin being Oz than I did with Colin looking like Colin and being Colin. So in a way, it's I remember with the first time that I watched the show when they sent me the episodes for the show before we started promoting it and stuff. I remember watching it and going, oh, almost feeling that's my guy. There's the dude that it's almost like you miss the guy that you worked with. You worked with him for months and months and months, and you don't get to see him again until you watch the show. And so, it's a very unique experience, but it's awesome.
How do you feel about that relationship? Because it's like almost like a father figure.
Yeah, I think it changes a lot. You know, we start on it and it's one thing, and then you get into it and it's a completely different thing by the end. Their relationship, and so I think that it was fun getting to build. You get to see it. You get to see it evolve. You know, over the course of 8 episodes, and you know that you have the 8 episodes, so you don't ever rush anything, which is so nice. You don't have to go, okay, this is the scene where I got to get the audience to get that I like them now. You get to just slowly pepper it in here and there. Even episode 5, there's just this one little moment where he says the thing about Milos' shoes, and he just kind of smirks. Victor just kind of smirks a little bit when he makes a joke. And there's little moments where you go, okay, Victor finds him amusing, he finds him funny, he kind of likes the guy. That starts to happen, starts to grow, and then the relationship evolves and it turns into something. And I think that it's beautiful getting to do that. As an actor, that's what you want. You want to do arcs. You want to see a character change. You want to be with him as he changes. It's a dream.
Will you tell me first what I did to lose your respect?
What are you talking about?
You come in here, you're trying to buy me off with a necklace?
Lauren had based her on her own grandmother. Lauren had a very strong sense of her grandmother's sense of herself and the way she moved through the world as a queen. So Lauren would always be like, she's a queen. Lauren had also written from top to bottom such an incredible arc for this person. So there was always that. There was always the writing that you could just lean right into. And but in terms of developing like how she was going to dress, how she was going to think of her, it could have gone any number of ways. It wasn't in the script that she looked a certain way. It wasn't even in the script that her apartment had to be a certain way. So all that stuff, I got to go really in with the designers. That was fantastic. Like, we started from the beginning. She could have been like a little old lady with a bun, or she could have been what we ended up with, or she could have been a whole other. We could have gone any number of ways. So we tried a whole lot of stuff on, and Helen and I really had favorites. So we really found, like, that purple dress, for example. Helen found it in a thrift shop. It was a brown spangled dress, and she was like, I'll remake it as a purple dress, and this can be the iconic dress. But we found all that stuff and tried it on. I was like, she's a person who had this dress, and then went out from there. And in terms of the way the apartment looked, I was just so lucky that they were like, what do you think she has in her apartment? And I was able to be like, I think she's got bullfighting posters. I think she, took the boys to see boxing matches and baseball, and let's have a lot of like fighter stuff in here. It's a very feminine house, but it has a lot of like odd testosterone touches in it.
I'm 8 pounds away from my goal, and I'm fitting in that dress if it kills me.
Jesus, can we ever talk about anything in this family besides food?
If my research is correct, your first role was in The Sopranos.
That's right.
Yeah, so I don't want to call this full circle, but did you take something from that for this character, like, because you were the daughter of someone?
I always forget about that part too, that I was like the daughter of a mom. No, because I filmed that in a complete blackout. Because I'd never been on a set. I was 19. I was like, it was a great experience, but like, I don't remember so much of it because I was so scared. I remember that Steve Buscemi was the director, and he was unbelievably kind to me. I remember like getting my makeup done next to James Gandolfini, but I'd never seen it.
Okay.
I didn't see it till 2 years ago, and like, wow, it's the best show that's ever been made. So like, no, not necessarily. I think I got that audition. I had just dropped out of college and had gotten that part, and it was like an amazing piece of luck. Yeah. And so I remember just being on that set and being like, okay, I think I can try and do this for a living, but I was overwhelmed the entire time, and like had no one to talk to and didn't know anyone, and like was just like had never seen that many extras, had never seen sets like that. Like, it was crazy. Shooting on the streets of New York. I mean, it's Yeah.
What a great show.
I'd say the best show of all time. Yeah. Yeah. It's the best one ever made. Yeah, I found that.
You're not looking too good.
So this isn't the first time you play a shady character, as we said already. Yeah, and having their own agenda as well. So what do you like about these characters?
I don't know. I think Well, first of all, I just feel really fortunate that people just keep offering me this kind of stuff because they're so much fun to play.
Yeah.
That being said, do I want to do a movie like Hangover? Yeah, I'm fucking dying to do I'm dying to show people that I have teeth. Like no one knows me except for anything but my mouth closed.
They see this.
Yeah, that's exactly. I know, it's like I can do other stuff, guys. But that being said, I'm so grateful. I'm so beyond grateful because these characters are really fucking interesting to play because they're all these guys, or at least the story that I come up with is that there is a reason that they are the way they are. Mm-hmm. Something in their past made them, CJ from Dawn of the Dead, right? He was so fucking insecure. So insecure that everything, all of his outward projections were based on the insecurities about how he felt for himself. Doug Stamper, you take all of his addiction issues and you just funnel it into that guy and addiction, people with addictions, they tend to take all of their focus and they put it into one thing. So it was fun for him to take all that addiction and focus it into job, serving the master, job, serving the master. So they're fun to play. Like if I get a rolling hangover, I don't know. Maybe I just like the fucked up guy that gets drunk and gets high. Why? I don't know, because it's fun to get drunk and high. I don't know. So it's like, there is something really fun about playing these characters.
Hangover 4, we can see you there in the 4th movie.
Hangover 4, yes, I will be. You heard it here first. There you go.
You did good today, kid.
Thanks.
What do you think the show has to say in terms of opportunity? Because you have us, he comes from the low classes too, your character comes from the low classes, and they have an opportunity. Maybe we can discuss if it's good or if it's bad, but what do you think the show says in that matter?
About opportunity, that's an interesting question. I think it says you got to fight for what you... I think as long as you want it enough, as long as you work hard enough, you can get something done. Now, are they doing good things in the show? Yeah, sure, maybe not, but it's like... but they want something, and I think it's commendable that they're going after it. I think we can find some positives in that. They're doing very bad things, but I think that Oz is not going to take no for an answer, and I think that that's exciting. And when you have someone like Sophia, who is effing ruthless, and we learned last episode maybe where that comes from. What is that? What happens when a tornado meets a volcano? That kind of question. And so I think it's exciting, and I think it says, life's not going to hand you anything. Go get what you want in life.
Weirdly, I didn't feel as much pressure as I felt excitement.
Okay.
Truly, I mean, I'm aware of, I guess, the burden of it, but for me, I'm like, not a lot of people get to play in the sandbox. And if they're letting me, what can I do to, make it interesting or change it up a little bit, or what do I wish for? How can we, our show so much deals with characters that feel like outsiders, that feel like they're other, and, Oz has, for instance, a disability, and I think in comic books, historically, that's not been depicted very well, or it's made an excuse, or someone has a scar on their face, and therefore they're a villain because they look a little different. And to me, I'm like, I wanted to make sure that Oz, because of his narcissism, because of who he is as a man, that's why he's a darker figure. It's not anything to do with a physical ailment or the way he looks. It's not about appearance. So to me, it was things like that of thinking broadly, what did I wish for that I think there could be more of, and how do I make sure that I'm honoring what came before. Definitely there's a level of, I'm aware of the potential burden, but I think if you get bogged down by that, you can't really make something new and exciting. So you have to excite yourself first, I think.
And that's a better way to see it.
Yeah, well, that's my hope.
Yeah.
Colin and I would talk about a lot how this show sometimes felt like an opera, just because it's so alive and larger than life while still being very real. But yeah, so I didn't draw on anyone specifically, but they're kind of like always with me because I like dreamt of doing something like this, you know?
Now when people are watching it and taking it in and kind of asking you, hey, you're part of the Batman thing, and that's when it's like, yeah, I guess I am part of the Batman thing. And I guess it feels a little bit different because Batman doesn't show up in our show, so it feels even a little bit more removed. But we're still in the world, you know? We're still in the thing, and so And again, when you're working on something, you get so specific that you just forget about the big picture that's going on. But now it kind of sinks in. That's like, no, this really means a lot to people, and you're a part of something that means a lot to people. So it's just awesome. It's just really cool.
Yeah, right. No, I wanted to, right? And I thought that I could, but.
I worked with Mark Winsky. He was my fluency consultant, is the technical title, but he was basically my dialect coach. And he's got a stutter himself. And it was invaluable, the information that he gave me on what it's like growing up. 80% of the work that we did wasn't necessarily on how to stutter, on the blocks or the repetitions or the running starts. It wasn't on the technical aspect of stuttering. It was more about the baggage and what goes on in your life growing up with a life of stuttering. And how does that affect you as an adult, as a teenager, someone who hasn't gotten over this embarrassment and shame behind stuttering? And so how does it manifest itself? That was the most exciting part about learning about the thing. And we did, and we worked on it for a long time. It was one of the things that I was most nervous about going into the show and coming out, thinking what people would think about it, if it looked gimmicky. I so hoped that people wouldn't think we were making fun of it or trying to... I want people to know that we took it seriously and that we tried, at least, and try to make it as honest as possible to me and feel as organic as possible. And I think we got to a place where it started to feel that way by the time we started shooting, thankfully. And
Penguin, you waltzing in here like you mean something. We're in the middle of a gang war. Chris Nolan really locked that down for me, but it's from the point when you're a kid. I remember all of that stuff. When I was a kid, it was really... I remember, funny enough, Wonder Woman taught me how to get an eyelash out of my eyelid after school one day. So you're a part of that stuff from a very young age. But then, like I said, Chris Nolan just hammered it up. By the way, if you ever want to get an eyelash out of your eye and it's in the upper eyelid, you take it and you pull it over your bottom lashes and it'll pull it right out. Thanks, Wonder Woman. There you go. Hangover 4.